this plugin I use on almost everything. And that kind of creates a lot more breadth. So the bass and the drum break. I actually made this little device here. And you can... And I kind of put this kind of stuff on everything.
This episode is being supported by Tape It, the iPhone recording app made for musicians by musicians.
This is one person on the violin, so I just have my friend Mike Simmons, and all of these strings were kind of layered of just him. Sort of just sat in a chair next to me in the studio, and we just kind of like layered up all of these strings to make it sound like a bigger ensemble. And another thing I do is I play a lot of MIDI strings. I was like it's got a plugin called Philharmonic or something Philharmonic. So like the weight of the strings would all be kind of the MIDI, and then I just do a couple of lines on the top of a live violin to make it sound like the whole ensemble was live, but it's really just one or two layers of violin to make it kind of sound more like an actual ensemble. And that's kind of what was happening in this Black Sands tune as well. So there's live instrumentation sitting on top of a lot of MIDI, but just pushed a little bit higher, so you can kind of hear that sort of live take, but a little bit louder than the MIDI, so it kind of gets this sense of like a bigger body of, because there's strings in this as well, but a lot of them are actually a mellotron pad with a couple of layers of violin over the top.
Yeah.
I'll try not to loop everything in fours, so I'll have like the hi-hats will be a sequence of it might be like 5 notes or a bar and a half, and then the snares will repeat in 3s, so everything is every hit is slightly different, so you get a full sequence of like 16 bars before anything is exactly the same, even though it's very subtle. It kind of makes it feel a little looser, and that you're not really getting that repetition as much because things aren't hitting in exactly the same place each time.
Yeah.
That was actually an Arteria version of an OB4. So there's an OB expander and then there's an OB8. So I think when I started it, I was using an Oberheim expander. But this is a plug-in version, and then eventually I switched it out to an Oberheim 4-voice plugin.
Right.
So it's just kind of doing it in intervals. I think it's fifths. And you can just open up the filter and it just kind of becomes huge, or you can close the filter and it just becomes very sort of subtle and rhythmic, and it sits in the back. So this is the sound that kind of threads through the whole track, and towards the end and the big builds, this is the main sound that kind of opens up. It's just opening up that filter and decay, and it sort of becomes this really enormous sound. And again, it's sort of like the Prophet 5 is doing the bass, but when it gets to this section, I really open up the filter on the bass, and that kind of creates a lot more breadth. So the bass and the drum break. So the filter opens up and the drum break comes in, and that's really what creates the sort of rise in energy. A few more little elements here. There's kind of these... Wait, let's see. This is some of the kind of Foley stuff I was talking about. I don't know. Oh yeah, this is actually from my car. This is like the snare drum from my car that I've just kind of...
What part of the car is that?
So there's the little compartment in the middle, next to the driver's seat. It has this little cover that lifts up and closes. Then you can put stuff in it, and just the way it closes has this really satisfying kind of clunk, which I just recorded it on my phone and just had it.
Time for a quick Tape It feature highlight. Tape It allows you to record in stereo. Utilizing the full microphone capacity on an iPhone, along with gentler dynamic compression, it gives you a much more natural sound and is a huge upgrade to the all-round audio quality. To find out more, follow the link in the description or use the promo code Tape Notes for 20% off Tape It Pro.
So I have a Rhodes in my studio, and I sent it through these low-pass gates, which were like sequenced. So it was a make noise low pass gate sequenced by something else from Eurorack. But what I really liked about it was having this playing Rhodes through the sequence in real time. So as the decays of the notes, and of course you can like hold these big sort of polyphonic textural notes, but as they're decaying, they're still being sequenced, and you can kind of overlap different notes and just kind of keep everything very loose and polyphonic, but it's still going to exist within this sort of sequenced structure. So that was the kind of the idea. So that the Rhodes and the bass, which is also a Rhodes, through a modular low pass sequence, which was this. So it's kind of the sequence stays the same. The sequence is always kind of going along, and it's just how you interact with that sequence on the piano, basically. So as you're playing the Rhodes, it's gonna get triggered by this modular low pass sequence, which is really fun, and it's a very like real time thing. You know, it's not this patch will sort of suggest how you interact with it, because it's very textural. So it's just nice to kind of hear these notes decaying, or the release times decaying through this low pass. And then I think there's also another thing that's going on, which is this pitched reverb. So there's a reverb return that I'll send through a pitch shifter. So I think this one was like a ninth above the root notes. So you're just having this reverb return that's coming in, but it's 9 semitones above what's going in. So it has this sort of like shimmery, harmonizing reverb thing that comes in. So that's the kind of slightly higher pitched thing that you can kind of hear.
But that's not connected to the sequence.
No, that's in Ableton.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's on the return channel. In fact, I'll try and bring one of them in, because I save these return channels when I make them. All right, so this is an example of one of these. I'm going to just pull up a synth so I can actually. All right, so. All right, so that's just a kind of dry little pluck synth. And if I bring in this return channel, this is a different one, another one I use. Wait, it's going to be here. So what's happening is it's going through. I actually made this little device here. So the first thing it's going through is, sorry, it's kind of a mess here. Decapitator. So we're getting a bit of distortion. The signal's coming in. First it's getting distorted. Then it's going to alter boy, and it's pitching. This one's pitched to fifths. And then after that. Oh, okay. So you can sidechain this back on itself as well, which is kind of fun. If you select the sidechain to be this return, see, then you get the so it's when you get the release, it'll duck for the input source, and then I just put a few parameters on this chain here, so you can just bring it down to 3 controls: the drive, and then the formant shift, which gives it a different tone, and then the reverb decay. And you can, and I kind of put this kind of stuff on everything. You can get quite musical with the formant. So yeah, that's kind of fun. This plugin I use on almost everything, and it's TB Real Bus. And it's a tape emulator, and it gives everything a little bit of width, but the thing I like, it gives everything a little bit of width and a little bit of saturation, but the thing I really like is this sort of tape wobble. You can have this, I mean, this is it really exaggerated. So I kind of put that on stuff to give it this, like, you know, make things kind of come alive a little bit.
Yeah.